What is up guys, JayFerGaming here and welcome to my review of the 2015 Formula 1 Bahrain Grand Prix, the night race, which always looks fantastic and has done from last year and this year. And the race last year was probably race of the year, so this race this season had a lot to live up to, and overall I think it was a pretty good race in the end. There was some good racing, like overtaking. I think it must be more difficult to follow a car this season because you didn't get that overtaken into the first corner and then the other car fighting back into turn 4 that often. It was a bit of a shame, but there were still some good battles through the field. So qualifying once again pretty standard. Lewis Hamilton on pole for the 4th time this season, but Vettel beat Rosberg by, I think it was a couple of tenths. Rosberg must have made a mistake because Vettel was 4 tenths off Hamilton, so it was a pretty slow lap from Rosberg. But then the grid was pretty standard for this season up to, I'd say, P8. Sainz made it into the top 10 for the first time, and Alonso up to 14th into Q2 for the first time, which was good for him. Kvyat out in Q1 in the Red Bull, which is an absolute disaster. And the two Manners were ahead of Jenson Button, who had had a disastrous weekend. I think he broke down in P1, P2. He only had a few laps in P3. Broke down in qualifying and didn't take part in the race either, so definitely a weekend for Button to forget. So onto the race, the start. Hamilton got a beast of a start. It was just like Abu Dhabi all over again. What a start he got, but Rosberg got a slightly better start than Vettel. Them two battling into turn 1. I think Rosberg was hoping to go up the inside, but Vettel covered him off, and then Raikkonen, being the smart head that he is, went around the outside, took Rosberg and defended well from the Mercedes. But further on into, I think it was lap 3, where Rosberg started fighting back, overtook Raikkonen, and a few laps later overtook Vettel. I think it was pretty inevitable. Mercedes definitely had the pace advantage here, even though it was more of a track like Malaysia. But yeah, Vettel was making mistakes. His first one allowed Rosberg to catch up and obviously take over there. But the gap between Hamilton and Rosberg was about 5 seconds. But yeah, further down the field, Massa obviously stalled on the formation lap, so all the cars passed him and he had to start from the pit lane, which was a shame for him. But he had a bit of a recovery drive getting involved with the midfield. He probably would have finished 5th, 6th around there if we're being realistic. But later on into the race, at the pit stops at the front, Vettel got the undercut on Rosberg twice for both pit stops. First pit stop, Raikkonen stayed out longer and then went on to the prime tyres, which was an interesting strategic move because in the second stint, the front 3 were on the options, Raikkonen on the primes, and Raikkonen had the pace to keep up with him and sometimes was going quicker on a few laps, and that really kept him in with a shout for the podium. And it really showed in the final stint when Vettel came out the pits ahead of Rosberg. Rosberg overtook Vettel because Vettel made another mistake. I think he must have made 3 or 4 in the race. He went wide going into the final corner, skimmed the gravel, and the front wing must have bounced off the ground and had a little bit of damage, but Rosberg got straight past. And then Vettel had to pit again for the prime tyres again, replace the front wing, and that virtually gifted Raikkonen a podium. But I think Raikkonen would have beaten Vettel anyway, because Raikkonen caught up to Rosberg. Rosberg was having braking issues with the BBW, as they said in the race. I thought that was pretty hilarious, me being a bit immature there. But yeah, took over Rosberg as Rosberg went wide into the first corner. But news on the final lap, Hamilton was having problems with his brakes, and I think one more lap Raikkonen would have won the race. So it was a real shame. Raikkonen got the fastest lap as well, but only finished 3 seconds behind Hamilton. So Hamilton was pretty lucky there. Another lap and he could have, I think he probably would have still finished 2nd ahead of Rosberg, as Rosberg did have a similar issue. But Raikkonen on the podium, fantastic for him. It's been a while, and of course he was enthusiastic as ever. Kimi, are you happy with that result? Yeah. I thought that was quite funny on the podium. Rosberg finished 3rd. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with that, but you just can't see him beating Hamilton at all. And unless Hamilton has a problem, Rosberg's pretty much nowhere near him. I think Hamilton was maintaining the pace today, just like in China over Rosberg, but it didn't work out for him. Obviously, I mentioned that Vettel went into the pits. He came out just behind Bottas, and somehow wasn't able to overtake him at all. Followed him around the track for about 20 laps. It was a good. I want to say defensive drive from Bottas in the final stint, but he didn't really have to defend too much. He just kept it on the racing line, and yeah, just kept the Ferrari behind him. There was one instance into the first corner, I think with about 5 laps to go, Vettel, a really late braking move. He was looking up the inside and nearly smashed into the back of Bottas, so that was pretty lucky. Ricciardo finished 6th. Pretty uneventful race until the final straight, where his engine blew up. So that's 3 of his 4 engines gone for this season already. So there's no doubt he'll be getting grid penalties in the next. Well, I'm not too sure about this rule. Will he get penalties for the rest of the races after the 4th engine? Because that could be like 12 races in a row getting a penalty, so that'll be unlucky for him. But there was a great battle in the midfield. Kind of seeing what the order was pretty difficult, because I think some cars were on 3-stop, others were on 2-stop. I mean, I thought Hülkenberg, he was doing well in the first stint, but somehow finished 13th, and Perez was 8th when he was lower down earlier on. So yeah, you kind of didn't see the order right there unless you were concentrating really intensely. But yeah, Perez came 8th. Obviously got a podium here last season. The year before he was pretty feisty with Jenson Button in the McLaren, so this is definitely a good track for him, and he got some points in the Force India, which is a car which is struggling. But with both Toro Rossos retiring, I think this was a good opportunity for Force India to get some points. But yeah, he finished behind Grosjean. The top 7 were on the lead lap, so good to see Grosjean get some points. I mean, if he had a slightly better car, he could be beating Ricciardo, I think. Possibly with the Williams, but they definitely need to improve quite a bit. And Maldonado could have been in the points. I mean, he finished 15th, but he was running in 8th until, I think it was his final pit stop. His engine kind of cut out as he was going into the pits, and he must have had like a minute-long pit stop, which totally dropped him out the points. He put some good moves on some drivers, so it was a pretty clean weekend for him, but until that moment, and no points for him once again. Kvyat recovered from starting 17th, was it? Yeah, finished 9th. It's been a tricky start to his Red Bull career, and I think he's gone up to them too early. I mean, he was decent in some races last season, but Verne outperformed him most of the season. And I think they've made a mistake there, Red Bull. I think they would have been better off getting Verne in there, but obviously that's not going to happen now. And Felipe Massa in 10th, I think they were going for a 3-stop, but converted it to a 2-stop and had to do, I think it was around 30 laps on the prime tyres, so he dropped from 8th to 10th, but at least he got a point. Alonso was so close to getting a point as well, just outside the points in 11th there. So McLaren are getting better, but they've still got a lot of work to do. I mean, Button didn't even take part, so yeah, they could be scoring points in Spain. I think possibly a 10th place could be on the card. They obviously need a few retirements. But Nasser 12th, Ericsson 14th. They seem to be doing a lot better earlier on, but Ericsson had a very long pit stop. He made up 4 positions from the start, so that was a great start from him. Good to see him performing a little bit, because he pretty much is a pay driver, and I don't think he's really that good. So 14th, he could have got a couple of points this race if he didn't have that really slow pit stop. Nasser put on a few moves. He was battling with Alonso and a few others for most of the race, but the midfield battle was really close. Hülkenberg 13th, already mentioned him. And the two Manners finishing 16th and 17th. Last, yes, their fastest lap, 5 and 6 seconds off the pace respectively, but Stevens beat Merry once again. Merry got ahead of Will Stevens at the start, but Stevens fought back, overtook him. I don't think we saw it on screen, but Stevens was well ahead of Merry for most of the race. It must have been like 20 seconds. I think he's definitely got the upper hand there. I'm not too sure about their experiences in past formulas, but I think Stevens has got the edge over Merry. The two Toro Rossos finished the race. They were struggling. They were well down the field, and Button obviously didn't start. So next race is going to be in 3 weeks in Spain. Really looking forward to that. Hopefully Ferrari can maintain the battle with Mercedes, because this season it's been respectable so far. A couple of races good, a couple of races not so much. But Spain, Catalonia, it's been a great race the last few years, so I'm looking forward to that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you have. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next review. Goodbye.